you. So, for instance, I'm almost 50. I have 5 kids. I have a career, blah, blah, blah. But people still see me as like 15 years old. And I have a 15-year-old myself, so it's and not to be like they're not disrespectful, but then there's a moment where I think you sort of come to terms with the godparent godchild relationship, where you acknowledge that you're both human, you acknowledge that you both have needs, desires, and wants, and that they're there to be your godparent is there to be your coach and not necessarily your parent, right? And so then that relationship can grow and evolve. And there are some godparents who still see like adults as like they treat yawos like they're little children. They're not yawos and like they just got born yesterday. The rebirth is spiritual rebirth, not actually physical. So you have to kind of navigate and manage those relationships carefully. So
That's right.
I shall. Thank you for coming up here with us. Now we're all balanced out. Look at
and also just on I just wanted to say love. I mean, I love all the Orishas, of course. I love all I actually I have the opportunity. I had the opportunity to give Oya several times because people have asked me like if there's an Yamaya Ocha given Oya, and I generally, or when it was Ajabon someone, I gave them Oya, and so I've always enjoyed um, that experience because whenever, for even from my perspective, whenever I give a Risha or I am in a ritual that is particular to that ritual, the Orisha manifests itself in my life very profoundly. And so there's particular lessons that are for me. So even though you may be initiating someone or you may be giving the Orisha, it's not just the person that's in the recipient of that who's receiving information, knowledge, lessons. It's also the person giving it who's receiving information,
That's
knowledge,
right.
and lessons. There's not
Mhm.
ultra ritual anything that I've received or participated in where I was a key participant, where the Orisha did not like show me something very, very specific for me to know, see, and understand about myself, about
That's
myself,
right.
for my growth. And so I take those things very seriously because the Orisha manifests for me in my iteration of life. That's how they manifest for me. In one they come in dreams and other things, but they show up very strongly, and I get the lesson very loudly in that way. And Oya has shown me that there's one thing that she shows me all the time, and I'm so incredibly grateful. And I wear her bracelets every day. Is that I can recreate myself no matter what challenge, what problem, and I've had plenty. I can recreate myself and I can regenerate, reimagine, resurface every and all those things. Um, no matter what, no matter what, and that for that I'm grateful because I know even in the midst of the challenge, that in the other side of that is we use this word transformation, change, da 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 da, but there's something about like it's like a metamorphosis. There's a difference from like, oh, you change from one day one outfit to another. There's a metamorphosis that oh yeah, at least does for me, like changing the dynamic, changing my perceptions of things, changing the cells within my body so that I can be healed, changing the way that I look at things, the way that people look at me. um and that's really, really, I think that's what people, like people are like, what, when will I see things happening for my life? This is not magic. I tell people this is not magic. This is metaphysics. This is medicine. This is discipline. This is a spiritual practice that takes discipline and work, and the work is in you. And they're patient. So I just wanted to share that. So thank you.
Thank you.
That was beautiful.
Yes. Yes. Motu pue to your wisdom and knowledge that you bring to the table. Um, your family has always been a cornerstone of lifting me in my life, if I should say that. Before I ever even knew you, I knew your dad from the Chicaba work he did in Ohio, um, at the Dayton Black Cultural Festival. So that was amazing. Also, of course, with your other mother, your other mom, Maribas Wiles. I remember by this time I had my elekes, but I still didn't know. I still lived in Ohio. I come to the conferences in X, Y, and Z. And I'm telling you this story because my petty phone Yemoya in my life, um, my goodness. We know Ibaye uh, Omidina, a priest of Yemonja. And wow. So I went into the house. I had came up for the conference. You know, I'm single. I ain't married no more. You know, I'm doing my thing. I'm out there. I'm dancing, and always around the Africans and whatnot. And to put it like this, the American brothers wouldn't even talk to me because they thought I was like right out of Africa or something. I don't know. It was like in any case. But the story is about how Yemaya has always been there to ensure that I wasn't harmed and that they understood steps I made and gave me warnings if I was going too far. He had impeccable ashe with Yemaya. I could cry right now because I had went into the house. All the Africans were around. I didn't even care anyway. And I wanted to salute Yemoya. I said, I want to salute Yemoya. He was like, okay, come on. And I saluted Yemoya. And when he raised me, there's no way in the freaking world that he knew that he didn't know what was going on in my life. I didn't talk to him yesterday. I didn't see him for 6 years or maybe, I don't know. He looked at me and he said what he said. I ain't gonna tell y'all what he said. I'll tell you what he said in person. But it was true. And he was like, okay, don't do that no more. Just, chill. I'm like, okay. I couldn't even lie. So you understand what I'm saying? I mean, lying wasn't even in my perspective. It wasn't even in my mind. But the thing about it is that he knew. At that point, um, if I didn't know that the road to spirituality or the road to Orisha, or let's just say the Ashe of the universe works through the vessels of their children.
Hey, Amari.
Amari.
Come on.
Amari.
I'm about to put you down.
Yeah, go take him. Go put him in the bed. He gotta go to bed.
Bottle was in the warmer.
But how long are we gonna get it? Okay, yeah, excuse me. That's Isis. That's my daughter. She has Shango made, so we're like going like this, like that. So, and your mom, and you know after. Oh yeah, do we hang with people? Like be hanging with people and stuff? We don't be doing that, do we? We don't. Like seriously, do we?
No, we cordial,
Yeah, we cordial.
and we
Yeah.
like to, but no, we ain't doing it like that. No.
But we have special people in our lives, and when they're
Oh,
special,
absolutely. Absolutely. That melt our hearts.
Yep. Yep. So yeah. So the other side of that, with your mom and stuff, I'm like, wow. It's just been deep, you know. It's been deep and a beautiful path, This pathway of spiritual of knowing yourself. You say doing that inner work, cleaning out the corridors, and also about the choices we make, and put it to deep thought with people in the tradition currently right now. And there's a lot of other stuff that the interest out there to present to the world. This is my YouTube channel. I'm just starting it. So these live streams is because I through Facebook, because this is where I know the most people. But it's serving a bigger public, a larger public, and its purpose is going to be, is and will be, and serve a bigger purpose. Because my Fetty for Orisha, and with Oya, this is what, listen, I don't want to say too much with that, but what I am saying is that there are a lot of good people out here looking for good people for at least some common sense advice. Good common sense advice. Or they hear a lot of bad, but they don't hear a lot of good. And there's a lot of people, when the description says, how has Oya impacted your life, your journey? How has Orisha? What is the value of Orisha in our society? That's what this is about, to that degree. And it's also about new discoveries. There are some things that even the Obas, the Arietes, are discussing during this time, talking about, just within ceremonial and ritual, the things that people are just going off and doing. And I'm like, what is wrong with you people? I mean, if we was, and I'm all for the Watusi. Look, if you want to be Watusi, when we say Watusi, or let's put it like this, Zulu, we're not in Africa, what do you call it, 1785, where we just walking around in little bitty raffia skirts with our legs painted and our body, um, with things going on. You understand what I'm saying, Bobby? So conversations about where the tradition is going is how we celebrate the Orisha, how we perpetuate the Orisha. And we perpetuate the Orisha through the mouth, through action, the drum, For me, the drum is my husband. The drum is the voice. It's like the voice of is the voice of God Himself, right? And it is important that our ceremonies, our rituals, as we come together as children of this universe, that we have some respect for that. Now, if you want to do that in the middle of the forest in Africa, hey, you want to get down like that and put some grass skirts on and some little coconuts over your chest or not.
I'm sorry, Ia. I think I'm missing something.
I'm down with the bare breast. But what I don't understand is how you gonna come. I'm sorry, Barbara. What do you want to say? I'm going.
No, I have a question. I hear you describing something that I'm not quite clear about. So if you could elaborate, I'd really appreciate, just so that I could follow the discussion, because I'm a little lost over here.
Okay, there has been some things going on at drummings or tambors, and I don't know what communities they are happening in, that people are just being just totally inappropriate. They're going before Anya. They've been doing this for a while though. Going before Anya, see through whatever thongs, maybe no thongs. I mean, I don't know. I haven't, I know we, and I'm going to say we, in, I'll put it this way, not in all Afro-Cuban or Afro-Latino or African American celebrations. Not everybody is doing that. It's just certain sectors of people that think it's okay.
I get it.
So people are addressing that, and then certain things that are happening in ceremonies. So stuff like that will possibly come up at some point. This is a big one for me though. Cost of crownings. If that's what is needed, period. A lot of falsifying that people are doing in terms of telling people they got to get crowned and then charging $30,000, $40,000. What is he saying? I think at this point, I'm more concerned about the folks stepping in front of Oya dressed immaculately, but whose character is stained and ashy. They treat people like crap, manipulate, degrade, cause mess, but dress abs look the part. Ooh, yeah. Well, why don't you come on up and tell us about that? My and this is just some thoughts, and I know we've been on here a long time, and it's not really that long. It's like 4 hours. You need the link? Okay. Yes, it has. We said 5:30. It's 9. It's good on 10. Listen, I think live streaming and FaceTiming is a wonderful thing. You get to look at the person. You get to talk and see people that you haven't seen before. Well, seen in a long time, rather. I haven't seen you in years, Baba. You look good.
Me?
Yes. I haven't
Yeah.
seen you in so long.
Itutu seminar.
I know.
Yeah,
It was
it was a
that
good
long
time.
ago. It's been that long.
But I thought you were here in New York. I didn't know you had moved.
It was since 2016.
Wow. Okay.
Mhm. Um, yeah, since 2016. I mean,
So,
there's a those are some other topics that, and those are like community topics. Tonight was a special guest
that's
panel.
right.
Fridays, I was going to make an open forum for public questions or talking about some topics that um, will come up that want to. Hey,
This hair, I don't know what's happening. It's an Osogbo. I'm just don't mind her. Do not mind any of this.
don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
No, I was saying briefly before because I feel like I I I understand the importance of priesthood, and I think that we as priests are keepers of shrines. That's a very important thing. We're keepers of shrines and we're keepers of tradition. And I'll go one step forward to say a lot of times the Orisha are not paying attention to certain things because I don't want to say it's underneath them. Maybe it's not their concern. For instance, I'm a big person on not taking pictures and video of ceremony. I believe that there needs to be a level of sacredness to a space and to a time and place of all things, right? Taking pictures outside is one thing, but taking pictures of the actual, like for me personally, this is a personal thing. Taking pictures of Anya or people getting presented to Anya.
Can I be devil's advocate?
You can.
What happened? Can you hear me?
Oh, you know what? Something happened with my.
Wait a minute.
It might be my thing too, because
Okay. Can you hear
I'm
me?
gonna I'm gonna try to maybe get back in if I can.
Are you lit? Did you hear that? It was like a double. Can you hear me, Baba? Jimmy?
Yeah,
Okay, this
I could hear both of you.
yeah, this is the devil's, oh they call it, okay, I would call it devil's advocate. I don't like to say devil. The devil's advocate. When you said that, okay, I'm gonna go here being a cultural arts educator.
Mhm.
Always been a traditionalist to a large degree. Many things we would not know what they were of the glorious historic era if people didn't do drawings.
Okay.
On the walls of Kemet, on the walls of Timbuktu, on the walls of a cave or Zulu, a mountain or this, someone took the time. I don't say that everything needs to be photographed. I agree with you on that sense. But we do need to have some type of record. How that should be done, I think that as of now, we
Oh no, you're muted. You're muted. You're muted. Something happened. Just want to make sure you're heard. This is your own show. Can't be unheard on your own show. Are you muted too, Baba?
I muted myself.
Oh, okay, okay. I was like, wait, maybe it's my phone. Hold up.
okay. Are you there?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know what happened.
So you were saying as to how we should go about that.
Yeah, how we should go about that, and it's more so being like the piper, or let's say preaching to the choir.
No, I think what I'm saying is, for instance, and everybody draws a line, and this is where I mean, this is exactly gets to my point of priest having to dictate this, having to have conversations around these things, and having to, because it can't be done outside the priesthood. It can't be done by folks trying to come in, trying to tell people what they need to do within a established setting. That I can't do. That irritates my liver. But what I say is that, like, for instance, for me, this is just for me, somebody getting mounted or possessed with Orisha is a very sacred moment. Their body is being taken over, their faculties are being taken over. Like, I don't want to see myself on camera. I don't want to. It's a moment. If you were meant to see it, you're supposed to be there. That's me. This is me. Solely me. Um, and things of that nature. Meanwhile, Orisha walk by people with cameras all the time. They're not telling them to put it down. They're not knocking it out their hand and making a big fuss about it, right? It's us as the priesthood. And I feel like, we have an obligation, yes, to relatively decide what is our etiquette and cultural norms, and what are we keeping, what are we not keeping, and have that in discussion. I challenge us all to not only hold people accountable for their dress and their appearance in sacred environments, but also how they act and how they hold themselves in and out of spiritual settings as well. Because I can tell you right now, having a discussion with someone about yaboraje and dressing in whites, and understanding that you could be irreprehensible and still dress in your whites. You can look immaculate and wear every right bangle, every right collar and ileke, and every right head wrap and shawl, and it doesn't make you a decent person. And some of the folks we know we have in our community are not being held accountable for their horrendous and horrible acts and the way that they are treating their own people in the community and what they're doing. But we're more concerned about how they dress and how they appear. And that's a problem for me.
Well, it's
Wow, you definitely raised some interesting points. And I can't say that I disagree with any of them, other than to speak to this whole idea that Yvette had brought up about the importance of having art which documents history, etc. I think, and I sincerely appreciate your perspectives. Yeah. And I'm not leading with the positive to like totally disagree. No, I'm not doing that. I'm just saying. I think it's important that we keep the sacred sacred. I think it's important that we keep the secret secret. I mean, that's the whole idea between Mariwu, right? But I think there's room to explore and discuss really what is secret and what is sacred versus what is profane, if you will.
Correct.
For the simple fact that you can watch, you can see something and you will observe how it comes together. You can see, all the constituent parts, but you don't have the wisdom to put it together, right? I mean, just because you throw the right color sopera with a distinct set of herramientas with a couple of herbs, that doesn't mean that you've just now consecrated an icon.
Correct.
So, and along that line, I remember when Anya was not for the public.
Right.
So if we want to say that no Anya drummings should be recorded or otherwise documented, I could be like, yeah, okay, I wholeheartedly agree with that. Simply because that was always secret and sacred. The Anya. It
I
wasn't.
agree.
They would, so that issue of telling the Aleyos that they don't dance in front, that was never a conversation that would have ever surfaced because the Aleyos weren't there. And the Aleyos weren't there because the elders were clear on establishing that norm and enforcing it. So, but the Abericula, I'm sorry, yeah, were you saying something? Oh, okay. But the Abericula, I don't see why. I don't have an issue with that.
Of course not. Of course not. And my issue, I think, more so is besides even Anya being an Orisha itself and an elder Orisha itself and things of that nature. Again, we're talking about people. There's some people who are like, don't take pictures of the trono. Nobody should be seeing that. That's, to me, it's what's inside the sopera that more matters to me than the pretty porcelain it's in. That's me. But for someone else, to them it's the whole kit and caboodle. So that what I'm saying, that why these discussions always are important to have, is because eventually we're all going to have to keep with the times. Things are changing, things are evolving. Let's just be real about it. Things are more accessible now, and I do feel that while the recording, the documentation for us to have the displays of art that we have through dance, through cloth, through beading, through music, through iconography in many ways, shapes, and form, has also informed a large part of people to know a little bit more than they would have, and gives these charlatans a lot to work with.
Well, yeah,
and so it's six one half dozen of the other. We really have to have these conversations on and offline, in person, and really decide for ourselves and have real serious discussion of why something would be sacred, why wouldn't it be sacred, and what are we enforcing in our own general, iles, so to speak, or our own functions. But yeah, I wanted to just say that because clothes and fashion and that has been such a subjective conversation where somebody can look at someone dressed as a yawo and say they are prideful, or whatever the word is, vain, because they're dressed maybe way better than yawos maybe used to dress, because you have more fashion forward things right now, that you're not going to wear the same, maybe something, you're all in white, you're all covered, you're whatever the case may be. But some folks, listen, there's some folks that make their own clothes, they're designers, they're and they're going to dress well as yawos. They're not going to maybe have the same type of dress someone else had. And I've seen the talking in between the communities. I've seen that of that very subjective nature of how one is supposed to appear in one's eyes, and it causes a distraction to some degree to the things and how people present themselves, and how they're also acting, which is going back to what me and Baba Solomon were talking about earlier with character and Obata and things of that nature, and how you present yourself and how you hold yourself and carry yourself. And I think that that's huge. I think it's really, really huge.
So do I. But regarding inappropriate dress,
yeah, we have to decide.
We can be generous. Say, if someone is coming from the outside, okay, they're walking down the street and they hear the drums and it's like, oh man, what's going on? And they decide to fall into a bembe, a bericula. And perhaps they're not dressed the most appropriately. I think that's the only instance when that inappropriate dress should be permissible. And subsequently, it should be someone's responsibility to inform that person, hey, we don't dress this way here. Because again, and I love to set up an analogy with parenting and children. Like, children are not going to intuitively know what's appropriate and what's inappropriate.
Right.
They're not, and it's unrealistic for us to expect other people to behave or to carry themselves appropriately if they've never been taught.
Absolutely. One of the things I'm an advocate for, which I'm seeing a lot more, I mean, not just between Willie Ramos, but Daniel Babi, Carlos Perez, Manny Mangual, and some of the other Oriates that are very vocal about tradition. They're really helping us have conversations about the whys of things, because a lot of us are quick to met out the taboos of, no, you can't do that. No, we don't do this. We don't do that. But we don't even know why. We've been told 150 different stories, and it becomes a telephone game. And so I think the proponent of also, educating others is really educating ourselves and really trying to, find out, because how do we know what's sacred or not? How do we know what's a hiccup? That's something started within the last 10 to 20 years that never happened before then, that became a custom now. And it's something kind of everyone may be doing that may not have been allowed at one point, that may not have been something that we collectively did traditionally at one particular point, because it had whatever reasoning. And so a large part of this conversation of informing others has to carry some weight with a modicum of education, or else we're just parroting and really roboting at that point. And I have a problem with that too.
Oh no, I couldn't agree with you more. And I remember what seems like a million years ago when I took Willie Ramos's ordination seminar. I was just like so totally pumped.
Same.
So totally excited. And I had even, in one of my conversations with Danny, I was like, oh man, have you taken the seminar? He was like, no, I haven't. I was like, you really should. If for nothing else, because it is so much easier to function when you and the community at large are on the same page.
Baba, I finished that course. I finished that course just around the time I did my first crown.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you right now, if I had not taken that course, I would not have been half of the prepared that I was, because it just explained so much. I knew what I needed to kind of do. I had an idea. And even though I had my elders there with me, even though I was able to just maybe get a few more things and have it set up ahead of time without having to be told, or just, just one step ahead, so there maybe wouldn't be something missing or whatever the case may be. And I was dedicated that it was, everyone has the pressure when it's their first time.
Of course.
Like the pressure to perform or the pressure to show up or whatever. But I was just so, having come out that class and having conversations with my godparents and my elders at the moment, I was just like, I want to do everything right and tradition, like.
Well, again, one of the reasons why I was so emphatic about endorsing Willie's class is not even so much about the methodology or understanding the steps or knowing what comes first, what comes second, what comes third, but more along the lines of the philosophical underpinnings of not just what we're doing, but some of the, what were some of the historical currents that gave rise to this thing or this attitude or this belief?
Mm-hmm.
Because one of my pet peeves has always been, I remember just dispelling so many myths. Yeah.
Yep.
Dispelling myths. And I got to the point where I'm like, something? You guys want to believe that? That's okay. God bless you. Carry on. I remember having this heated debate with this daughter of Yemaya because she refused to acknowledge that the Ogun River was Yemaya's.
But how can you refuse to acknowledge it? It's just fact. It's just what it is.
Right, but you have so many people that are coming from so many different directions without any clear understanding of what these fundamentals are, and that's why, again, I wholeheartedly endorse, Willie's class, and I really like what Danny's doing now. And hopefully, you know, in the future, there can be less variations in practice.
I would love to see it, unless obviously it is an actual differentiation, a differentiation or variation due to a actual, ile thing. You know what I'm saying? And not just a my house thing, but actual lineage thing. Like, I was just, and that's the thing. Like I was discussing, and I don't know if it was the Egbagdo. I may be quoting that incorrectly, so don't nobody check me right now. But there was a specific line that used to feed Obatala and Ochun together, and used to paint Osun on a chair specifically. And then it was a birthing stool at one point, but obviously that didn't carry over, and this became a wicker chair or something that can seat the person. And so you would only see it with Robatala and Ochun. So only two people you may have seen that with. Everyone else got the pilong. And it was something lineage based. It was something, if you know people who are Yesa, they're going to have certain little things that they may put in Omiero that are a little bit different. And certain, so look, you're keeping things because that's the variation from those people you descend from. Got it. I'm here for it. But if it's something that started happening in the 80s, 90s, 2000s because somebody did whatever to someone that became a custom, and that's no. And we need to be okay with saying, hey, our elders gave us what they knew. Some of it doesn't make them infallible. It makes them, that's what they had to offer. That's what they knew. We may learn differently and we may learn whatever. And we have to be okay with that. It doesn't dismiss everything they've ever taught us. It doesn't diminish anything we've come to know, or, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's a huge part of like the learning process has been, why some of the oriates and some of the elders are so like aggravated and annoyed half the time is because if they try to correct, it's like, no, that's not the way we've never seen that before. And it's like, okay, relax. It's okay that you've never seen it before. However, this was happening 11 years ago and you just got made 10 years ago. So before 11 years and beyond, this was a thing. In the last 10 years, this has changed, and it's okay to change back.
Yeah.
And that's a big discussion that's happening a lot now. It's like, where do we go when we find out the information is this? Are we taking the Yawa out this time? Are we not doing this time? What are we, having those conversations?
Yeah, I read that thread.
Yawa
to Egun and
all of it, all the conversations that have to evolve around that, and it shapes us. One thing I think about this tradition has always been two very particular things that are very powerful and very poignant in our tradition. It's the evolution, which has occurred, which does occur because Odu and everything that transpires, it's a living and breathing thing.
Right.
It has to incorporate the constant, but also precedent and understanding how important precedent was. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Who sanctioned this at one point? How did they do it, and why did they do it? What was going, and knowing that history, the historical value, the things you were talking about, the dispelling of myths.
Right.
So yeah, I mean that's been the journey. That's been the journey I know I've been on. Some of my associates and close ones have been on the same journey, and just trying to inform ourselves, trying to be the best we can of our own, priesthoods, not a competition out here, and really just trying to do our best, bring our best foot forward and hold on to some bit of legacy that we can hopefully continue on with.
Absolutely. I think that's the best that any of us can do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Understand our individuality, but understanding we're also a community. And that's a hard thing. I think some of those views skew between old world African ideology and some of the Western world ideology, but understanding that, yeah, we have a personal relationship with Orisha, with Egun, with Spirit. but we're also a part of a community, and we have to know how to gauge those things.
Yeah, but I remember
Yes.
Oba Pichardo gave a talk here in New York
Hmm.
a million years ago. And he coined this phrase that I thought was so spot on. He said that one of the problems with Lukumi practitioners is that we're functioning from a place of extreme individuality. And I thought he was so spot on because even now, as we like, no one, we make reference to community, but there are so few examples. They are so few and far between of tangible examples of Orisa communities where truly people function where the limits are well defined, where there's structure, where there's hierarchy, and where everyone stays in their lane. Very few examples. And only one comes to mind right now. More often than not, someone is getting initiated today. They're coming out of the room a year and 7 days later. They think they're a priest and they're trying to initiate someone else. There is no accountability there.
Child, they're doing the Yawos now. Let me shut up. You know what?
Okay.
You know, I just, oh, it is what it is. I mean, I say individuality in the essence of, and I speak from, I have a way I approach Ochun as my crown. I have a way I talk to Ochun. I have a way that maybe for some person it's gonna be like gasp, and to another person it's like, okay, that's your mama. Do what you need to do. That's my relationship with Ochun,
That's
right? I don't need anyone to ever try to dictate that because Ochun's been very clear with me to not put on a face for her. Come to her exactly as she knows me to be and be real with her. So don't pussyfoot around with the nonsense. That's how I am. So that's what I mean about individuality. There's going to be practices we have and or things we know between us and our Risha and that we do, but we also know and that setting. When I'm in a communal setting, I'm deferring to my elders. I know exactly what I'm there to do. I'm here to support. I'm here to work. What do you need me to do? Fill up a bucket? Got it. What you need me to hold something? Got it. I'm not here to debate what, that's not the time for it. I know what I'm there for. I'm there to support a Yawor's journey in this essence, right? I'm there to support the Yawor and by extension the godparents who are bringing the Yawor in. Let's keep this moving. So
okay.
community has very much been there, but it's sometimes, even in Ultra stuff I've done, I do PSAs before everyone. I say quick PSA before we start. Thank you so much for coming. Check your ego at the Mighty Wall. Everybody in here needs to have respect for one another, speak to each other kindly. And if you're in your feelings about anybody in this room, maybe you shouldn't be washing nothing or doing nothing because I need cool hands and clean hands. And if you can't do that, please kindly step up, hand this envelope back, and we can give it to somebody else and get this thing moving. That's how I am because I'm very clear about what I'm there for. And I need y'all to be clear too what we're here for as a community.
Mm.
And it rubs some people the wrong way. They don't want to hear nothing and they'll be okay. It's one of those things where it's like, it's there. If we want it to be there, and I think having been on a somewhat Arish related, but not really, having been able to be a mentor in Ia Loriwa's Egbe Iwa program and working with kids and young adults and other adults and other Olochas and seeing that, I'm like, this is very much possible. This is very much a thing. We could definitely be doing this on any amount of things and supporting one another if we wanted to. Very much a thing.
Cool.
But anyway, I love y'all. I love this platform. Keep on doing it, yeah, because conversation needs to be had.
Absolutely.
Yes, a whole lot of conversations need to be had. There would be, of course, my core. I would like to call you my brothers in the in the fight for this tradition to evolve, but yet still hold its quality, still hold on to its roots. Um, and when I say roots, that means my petty fool Hosine. Um, I don't want to see the earth decaying, that we don't have the science that we need to make that connection with things that we know. But we know that there are also, even within the water, I would just say it's about the universe. You know, the whole big campaigns to talk, that were beginning to be started everywhere, but everywhere the world is so full of garbage, you know, the pollution. If you see, I I'm a YouTube person. I sometimes I don't even watch regular TV anymore. You can find anything, research anything. Um, you can just see the world. There are people out there that are just traveling all over the world. That's their job. That's what they do. They YouTube about areas, places. They're going places, and they're talking about what's happening in those places. There's some gorgeous places on this universe. Okay, he's talking because I'm talking. And all right, hold on 1 second. Okay. All right. Oh, really? Okay. No, he needs to go to bed. Yeah, he's excited because I'm here, and he will be asleep, but he hears us talking from the bedroom in the back, and he's back there whining, just not crying, screaming, but anyway. So I got him, and he was okay until I started talking. He was like falling down over my lap, but that wasn't working no more. I can't be having all that whining and stuff when I'm trying to talk. The beautiful places in the world, the environment, it's out there. And what we're doing in the cities, as we begin to evolve, as we begin to have these conversations, where are our log cabins the with the sanitation, with the running water and pipes coming from a river? And I'm just saying, how do we evolve this experience for ourselves? Because, like I said, it's the folks that are coming behind us. Maybe they are going to say, "Hey, we could do this, but we got this for y'all. We could do it a little bit more, where we're not intruded." How do we weed out intruders? How do we weed out the intruders?
I mean,
It's people that want it, and then how do you weed out the intruders? One of the things that Yoka said is that people come to this tradition to find themselves. People go to Hinduism to find themselves. People become Buddhists to find themselves. People go to ayahuasca to find themselves. People go to the corner, what do you call, crystal shops to find themselves. People go to the grave of Marie Laveau. You know what I mean? To
yeah.
find themselves. People are going all over the world in all these different places to find themselves. True. They say that if a batala doesn't want you, nothing will, right? If a batala doesn't want you, if a batala doesn't want you under his umbrella, if a batala leaves the aspect of your protection. Now, people, when someone says that, I know it sounds very humanistic, but I don't think this is what, it's not a physical thing. You know, it's not a physical if a batala leads you. And I had to learn that. I mean, it's like you hear stuff, people talking in the physical, right? Probably it's like people talking in the physical way about what can happen with Orisha. And that aspect of life, of universal of birth, life, and death, is the fact that what sustains this universe, what Olodumare, or let's just say, oh my gosh, the creators of creators. Can you hear me? Oh. Wait a minute. All right. Barbara, can you hear me now? Can you hear me? I can't hear you. What's going on? Let's see. Now I can hear something. Is that you?
No, actually, I was muted, but I was just extending my deep appreciation for this time. But I'm going to need to be signing off. But this was a great,
I
great,
feel the
great
same
discussion.
way.
And thank you so much for creating this space for this dialogue to happen. Mafere with you. Ashe. And it was so nice to see Ayoka that I haven't seen in a million years. Uh, and to finally meet David face to face, well, kind of sort of face to face. But yeah, it was great. And I will be swinging by again. As long as you let me know the time and the time zone, I'm good.
Yes.
Peace and blessings to you, my sister, and to have a good evening.
Yes, I was ready. I was ready to sign off too.
Okay.
In all actuality, it's time for me to go. I'm going to drive home. I came to my daughter's place to do this because my upstairs bedroom where I would like to do it, it seemed like the Wi-Fi wasn't going to be strong enough for the Nigerian connection.
Mm-hmm.
In any case, have a good night. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Win of Prosperity. We have an open forum on Friday, and we're here Tuesdays and Thursdays with special guest speakers. Modupe Pupo, Baba, Jimmy,
My
Olori,
pleasure. My pleasure.
and to Baba Solomon, all the way in Nigeria, who said, "Hey, I'm going." We give thanks for all of your knowledge and wisdom that you gave to us this evening, and everybody who stopped by.
All right
Oh,
now.
good night.
Good night.
Good night. All right. Yes, yes, yes.